Welcome to yet another episode of TechBeans. On today's episode, we're thrilled to welcome Mehnaz Tabassum. With a wealth of experience in IT project management, while also being a podcast host for her show Mehnaz Talks AI, she is also a co-founder and an executive director at 𝐸𝐞𝐫𝐬𝐨 Community Outreach. This is an initiative to tackle food insecurity. Mehnaz seamlessly blends technology expertise with a passion for community impact. Her work spans across leading complex IT projects, demystifying AI for diverse audiences, and driving innovative solutions. Welcome, Mehnaz. So glad to have you here today with us.
Thank you so much, Pavleen. Really happy and excited to be here.
Same. So let's start right off. So, Mehnaz, your career spans IT project management, AI, and social entrepreneurship. What initially sparked your interest in these areas, and how did the journey begin for you?
So, funny story, Pavleen. I actually do not have a strong computer science background. I am actually a business major, but I've always been very passionate about technology. I am originally from Bangladesh, so I moved to Canada when I was 17 for my undergraduate studies. I went to Memorial University where I was studying business. When I was in business, I would do a lot of pitch competition, business case competition, hackathons. So during those, I would work very closely with developers, product designers, so a lot of like technical folks. Even though I wasn't technical, I got really interested. I was like, I want to learn more about it. I am very passionate about technology, so I started following news. Even before AI was popular, I was following kind of like where it's headed in the early days. And fortunately, I am married to a senior data scientist. So in my home, in my dinner table, we talk all things data and AI and technology. So, for the longest time, I thought, because I have a strong background in business and entrepreneurship, should I even pursue project management? But I go to a lot of these events. I do a lot of networking. I do a lot of like self-education in terms of like latest tech news. I use a lot of different tools. So in one of those workshops, it was a very big tech workshop that happens in Canada, and I was leading a session there. Luckily, the government of Canada's, like my organization's chief information officer at that time, was in the same table as I was. And they were super impressed with the depth of knowledge I had on essentially on technical things and how I was relating the technology with the business side of the things, which is oftentimes, she said, was like very much missing in the tech side of the world, that connectivity with the business.
Yeah.
So because it was so loud, she wrote on a piece of paper. She said, "Do you want to work for me as a project manager?" So I was like, yes. And then she wrote on a piece of paper, "Do you have a PMP?" At the time, I had no idea what a PMP was even. I went home, I searched for the certification, and I was like, okay, I have everything that they required in terms of a degree and the years of experience leading projects. I just had to study. So in 2 weeks, I studied and I gave the exam, and I passed with above target in all of the domains. And I was very surprised because I've never, learned project management, did any traditional route. And then I was officially hired as a, IT project management. And I think a lot of it I learned very much on the job. And I could relate back to my days of the university when I was going to hackathons, when I was leading those business teams. And a lot of my leadership that's required in the project management kind of comes from how I started my charity as well during the pandemic. So all in all, I think throughout my life, I've had different experiences, but somehow I was able to gain a lot of transferable skills in different domains. And now it's like I can apply it anywhere, any project that I take on.
Great to hear that. So I think the universe finds a way to get you to your right path somehow.
I know, yes, yeah. But you have to kind of, I think one thing that I really do want to kind of always share, even with people, because I do a lot of like career consulting mentorship. And I always tell people like two things is very important. One is you should always lead with curiosity. You need to always be an open, like always be a lifelong learner, like learn what's out there. It doesn't have to be super technical. If you are into tech, that's great. But even if you're not into tech, learn, read articles, listen to podcasts, go to conferences, and then put yourself out there, because you don't know what kind of opportunities you attract unless you put your story out there. Because even you reached out to me because I posted on LinkedIn and we connected, right? And I got this opportunity.
Absolutely, that's right. So Mehnaz, we'd love to know what a typical day in your life looks like. So from the morning that you wake up till you sleep, what is a typical day in your life?
Oh, I would say organized chaos. I'm currently leading 6 active roles. So I'm a project manager with the Government of Canada, a senior project manager, where I lead 10 projects, including an organizational data strategy at the moment. And then I lead a charity with over 50 staff right now. And then I have my podcast content creation. I do investment with startups, so I have that role as well. And then I do career consulting, and I also manage my properties. I don't have a property management company. That's something I do as well. So I have 6 different roles. So when I wake up, my calendars are like organized to the T, ever since I wake up to like how my day ends. It's all color coded, time boxed. I just kind of follow through, and it's kind of organized a week ahead. So for example, a typical day would look like I would wake up around, I'm a late sleeper, so I wake up around like 8 a.m. So I freshen up by 8:30, I would log in. I start with my scrums. I try to get my, scrumming out of the way. Sometimes I would have like sprints, retrospective, depending on the type of projects and their state. Then I would have my stakeholder meetings. During lunch is when I work on my charity, like some of the meetings. So essentially my lunch is also somehow, jumbled into work as well. And then after 4 p.m. is when I start to work on some of my content creation, then some of my podcasting if I have guests. So it varies. It's, every day looks very different than one another. But what's very essential for me is that I have to time box myself, and it's like kind of like hyper organized throughout my day. So if chaos happens, it has to happen within the allocated time.
Got it. Wow, that sounds a very rigorous routine that you have. Do you also take breaks, just out of curiosity?
I do. I love traveling. So last year I traveled to 9 countries. Throughout my day, I would stretch. I even have my break schedules. I would stretch, kind of play with my cat. I have 2 cats. They're mostly with my husband, but occasionally if they would visit my office, I'd kind of cuddle with them. So that's kind of my work-life balance.
Great, adorable. Okay. So my next question, you've co-founded NLEAD's community outreach to tackle food insecurity, a critical social issue in today's day and age. What inspired this initiative?
So I grew up in a household where, my mother is a social entrepreneur back in Bangladesh, and my father is an entrepreneur. So I always see my parents kind of growing up that my house was always filled with people. So my parents actually go above and beyond to help others in terms of if someone wants, needs a place to stay. I had different cousins and distant relatives grew up staying in our household because they didn't have family where they were studying. So I always saw that side, it was instilled in us. And ever since we moved to Canada, me and my siblings, we kind of saw that take place, like those values kind of take place in a lot of our action. Like we volunteer regularly with different organizations. Even some of our early on, like NLAs became very big, but before that too we tried to do different type of business ventures as well, and all of the business ventures always had a social side of it. Like it was a social enterprise model that we were always working towards, but not everything gets off. NLAs did, because it was during the pandemic we saw like food banks closing down. Everyone was told that you stay at home. At that time my brother was working at a restaurant as a chef, and his restaurant was throwing away like big freezers of fresh produce, and he came home one day and he's like, what a waste, like all this is gonna be thrown away. So we were like, is there a way we can just distribute it? So we just took some pictures, we brought some of our own stuff to add, we packaged it, we just posted it on social media that we are just going to give out 20 to 30 food hampers. You can sign up via this Google form, and that's about it. And it just went viral, as things do in social media, and we got a lot of traction. At that time I was part of the provincial government's youth council. So they reached out to me and they were like, do you is it going to be formal? Do you need any help? Do you need any support? And I was working with the government as well, so I knew how to kind of formalize an organization. We were like, okay, because we are getting the need from the community, it's no longer just an initiative. We need to kind of make it, like register it and make it a formal organization. So even though we started with just a food bank, so up until now we have served over 5,000 community members right now. But our focus not shifted, but we kind of added other initiative as well. So we still have the food bank ongoing, but we've now focused more on education and slowly integrating, like how do we innovate in the agri-technology sector, because food insecurity is one part, but we want to educate and empower the next generation so that we can create more sustainable communities.
Great to hear that, Mehnaz. It's a need of the hour to tackle such issues. I personally have also seen so many restaurants, so much food wastage. I think this is superb initiative.
In Canada alone, there is like 58 billion food that goes to waste.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a lot. I think there's enough food to feed everyone. It's just, it's a logistical and more of an educational and awareness type of issue.
So Mehnaz, in many of your posts, I went through your LinkedIn, I sort of stalked you, but you spoke a lot about the multipotentialite life. So what is this term exactly, and how is it relevant for you?
So multipotentialite is essentially, like to me at least, it's someone who, have diverse interests, diverse skills, and they find a way to, transfer different type of skills and different type of passion into different type of workflows. So for example, when I was growing up, my friends, they had a very fixed vision, that I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be a developer or whatsoever. I had a lot of interest. Like I wanted to be an artist, I wanted to be, like I was interested in tech, but I didn't like to study, a lot of like those theoretical stuff. So I was like, I went to business, I like business. So I always felt like, why is it that I can't choose a single path? Why is it that today I like this, now I want to do that? So it's all like I was all over the place. Until I found the term multipotentialite, and I did more research, and I was like, okay, it's as I was saying, like you can be chaotic, but you can be an organized chaos. Like you can have a lot of passion, but you need to know how to kind of divert it, or how do you use one skill and transfer it to another of your workflow. So in all this to say, it's like as a multipotentialite right now, I work as a business leader. In my job, I work as a very like hands-on technical project manager. When I'm in my sprints, like I'm very much nitty-gritty into the technical. Then I work as a investor, because I'm very much into finance. So I do that. And then I'm very I like to think at least I'm creative. So to flow my creative juices, I do like the podcast, content creation, I do writing. So these are all like different stuff. But I feel like everything kind of complements each other, and it took me a while to find the balance of my multipotentiality, that even like you could be the most talented person and have a lot of different skill, but how do you kind of put yourself to work? And it took me a long time to figure that out, put some discipline surrounding my routine, and kind of I'm still learning, like how do I kind of utilize different things that I'm learning from one role to another. And AI is helping with a lot of it.
Absolutely. Let's normalize the multi-potentialite life. I mean,
Absolutely.
why restrict yourself to just one skill or one passion when you can explore it?
Yeah, and I find sometimes people are so afraid to, change jobs. Like, one best thing about me being a multipotentialite was that I have worked in a lot of industries, before IT. Joining the IT industry, I was working in HR, I've worked in finance. So if you look at my resume, it's kind of like all over the place. Like I've worked in marketing. So I've never hesitated, even tomorrow, like if I have to, for some reason, I lose my passion in the IT industry. Like I don't see that happening, but let's say I do, I can always like go back and pick something else. Like I'm very adaptable that way. And I feel like that's one of the key skills of being a multipotentialite, that you have to be very adaptable, and like I said in the beginning, lead with curiosity.
Next question. How has technology helped you in your achievements at NLEs or any of your other endeavors? So what role did tech have in all these roles?
A lot. One of the things that I love, and that's why I'm such a big advocate for technology advancement because of this, because I've seen the use case in my life that you can use technology to empower yourself. You can kind of break down barriers. So for example, because in the last couple of years with the whole AI evolution, it has now made my life so easier that I'm able to thrive in all of these roles I have. Before, it was very challenging for me, because at the end of the day, I was like, in all of your role, you have to work, right? There's a lot of like nitty-gritty admin work, long processes and stuff, manual stuff you have to do, and it was taking a long time. Like now I can manage all 6 roles, but a lot of the stuff that I'm not, like I don't want to do day to day, that's taking up my time and that's not adding value to my skill set, I can just automate with AI. So it saves me time, it saves me the energy, and I feel like it's somehow boosting my creativity, because I have to be very creative about like how I use the technology. So I have to put a lot of thought process into like, okay, what's my use case? Like what's the process that I'm finding tedious, and what's a process that I want to automate? So I'm kind of always thinking throughout my day, okay, where can I apply technology? And for the charity, it's kind of doing wonders, because as a charity, you are always lack of resources and you're always lack of expertise. Like even though we have 50 plus employees, majority of them are students, because we partner with universities to get a lot of resources so they can gain that industry experience. So a lot of these resources, while they're extremely talented and hungry for learning, they don't have that industry experience, they're just learning. Because of AI, we can kind of fill some of that knowledge gap. We can create effective onboarding and offboarding and create a system and process in place so that any individual can kind of come into the organization and they have that support system using AI. So it has been really great to see a lot of these different things we are able to do with the charity and even in our personal lives because of technology.
and in various fields, right? So it's not restricted to just one industry. You may be in marketing, you may be in finance, you
Yeah,
may be a coach.
yeah.
Everywhere, AI is just thriving.
Yeah, like I'll give you an example. So the last 2 years, I wanted to start a podcast. I love talking with people, but I just didn't have the time, until like last year I came across Riverside FM, the platform I use. So essentially, and there's lots of different tools right now, that's just one I use. But it's like essentially now I just go in and I record the session. The AI automatically, it cuts, it edits, it would put the caption. I use like Calendly and some of my automation tools to, automate the type of communication. So once someone signs up with me on a podcast, all of the communication that they receive is automated. So I don't have to do like emails, constant back and forth. So it's like there are so many things you can use to make your life easier, where as a content creator, I just focus on the creative process.
That was one thing I noticed immediately when I had those conversations with you, initial ones, that you're very much an AI person. The Calendly, the AI note takers, everything.
Yeah, because AI note taker is very like helpful, because I have so many different meetings. So my husband, he's actually like I was saying, like he's a senior data scientist. So he's the more like the data guru kind of person, and he has that in-depth knowledge. So he calls it like, building your second brain. Like, how do you build your second brain? Because we live in a world of information where, through social media, news, through our family, through our work, we have so many information coming at us, and that kind of impacts your mental health. So we have figured out a way where, we don't hold information in our brain, we hold information in systems. And that's where, a lot of this note taker integration comes into place. It's like I don't think about work, or I don't think about my projects when I'm not actively working on them, because it's all stored in an organized manner in my information management system, which, we refer to as our second brain.
Great, great to hear that. So, Mehnaz, I'm sure you must have had your share of challenges while managing so many initiatives. 6 roles you said, and I'm sure there are many more than that as well. Can you share some of the key challenges that you faced, and how do you navigate between your professional life, your personal passions, all of that balance? Where do you get that from?
I think I lead a very high functioning lifestyle by choice. And regardless of how much system and, checks and balances you put in place, you try to organize your days. There are some days when, you just can't help it, because at the end of the day, I am also human, right? I'm not a machine. So some days it's like, and today was actually a good example of one of those days, because today I ordered food. It didn't come in the right time. So I didn't get to eat in the time box time I had. So I had to go into different meeting, and by the time it was 4 p.m. And my husband, I think I had my water flask. So my water flask wasn't on my table. So I got like super mad. I was like, where is my water? I don't have food. So today was one of those days where, it felt like, oh my God, it's so long. And I was like, because I missed my window to eat, it's like, and because I put myself in such a like, strong time box scheduling stuff, I couldn't eat until it was 4 p.m. And by the time I was like so hungry, so tired, I canceled some of my meetings, and I was like, you know what, I just need to nap and, cool it off. So there are days, when things like that happen. There are days when, you get back-to-back bad news, right? Maybe something happened with one day I remember, like I woke up, it was supposed to be a happy day, everything was good. And then my tenant called and said that one of their wall was leaking with water, and it had a big hole. And then it's like I couldn't find anyone to, get a plumbing and stuff, and I had to shift my day. And when you're so organized to a routine life, when things go out and you have to kind of shift things around, it's very difficult, and I struggle a lot with it. Like that's probably one of my biggest weakness. Like when I'm organized and when I'm thriving, I'm good, but then when I'm bad, I'm really bad. So there's like no in between.
Have you heard of the term hangry?
Yeah.
I think that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah,
I understand, absolutely too. But then how do you manage when you have such challenges, and how do you like tackle them? Like you said that you calm yourself down that, okay, I need a nap, I'm going to postpone my meetings, but I will take. So you prioritize yourself in that.
I prioritize myself always. Yeah, because I always take a step back when I see that, okay, my emotions are getting heightened, because I'm no good to anyone if I'm not, in a place where I can use my intellectual or my creativity. And I can't do that if I'm feeling a certain way, if I'm feeling anxious or hangry or, tired. So I won't hesitate. I'll just cancel. I put my, diffuser with essential oil on. I have those roll-ons. There's a company in Canada, Sage. Like I use their roll-ons. I'll just just take a nap, or maybe watch Netflix, or talk to my parents. Like talking to my dad also kind of always helps me calm down. Like I'm a big, I would say, my husband always calls me like, you're a very big daddy's girl. Like I'll call my dad anytime I feel stress, and that helps.
Mehnaz, my next question would be, besides all your professional commitments that you have, any personal passions that you have, like you said, travel, etc. So how do you strike a balance between these two, your strict routine and then also pursuing the things that you love to do, the things that you like?
So I love traveling, and not just traveling as a tourist, but traveling as a explorer. Like I love living in different countries, in local communities. Like growing up, I actually lived like 1 month in Chennai, few months in Calcutta, and last year I lived in 9 different countries. And next month I'm going into Philippines. So the next 3 months I'm traveling heavily. So I'll be living in 1 month, one country at a time. So travel is like a big part of my life. But your routine doesn't need to be, like for me, routine and that is very important. But then I'm also very flexible in how I organize my routine. So when I'm traveling, I'll organize my routine that accommodates my travel time. I prefer I don't consider what I do at all like work. Like I'm actually quite passionate about the things I do. But I try to moderate my screen time when I'm traveling. So essentially what I'll do is, let's say if I'm in Thailand or Philippines, instead of working like 10-12 hours like I do in my current place, I'll just work maybe 6 hours, and 6 hours I'll spend outside. So I'll kind of have like flexibility around my schedule a little bit. But so far, it's been really great. It's one thing to work from your desk. It's another thing to work on a beach side, or work from I feel like it makes you more creative.
So Mehnaz, also another question would be that you currently work for the government of Canada. For the viewers, I think this would be an interesting question. How is it different from all the other organizations that you worked to working for the government? Is there any difference, and if so, then what is it that stands out for you?
I would say the biggest difference, and here I see both perspectives, right? There is challenges, and the same challenges also possesses opportunity, and hence I've seen a huge career growth in my career with the government. So the government in general is very risk averse. We have a lot of data of the public or sensitive data. So when you work at a private organization like Microsoft, Google, because I have friends there, I closely work with Microsoft because they're one of our partners as well with the government. So I know those colleagues, and their mindset is very different, because when you work at the private, you're selling a product, right? You're working at like promoting your product. You're very like product focused, and you're very client centric, right? But in the government, it's different. There is policies, there's politics, there's bureaucracy, and for some for good reason, because obviously if something goes wrong, the impact is way more than a private organization. But sometimes I feel like that slows down innovation. Like, let's say, if you wanna deploy a tool in a private industry, it would happen way faster than if you're trying to deploy a new innovation in the government. You kind of need to push the needle a little bit more to get ahead. So that's been one of the big thing I learned by working in the government versus private. But there I see a lot of opportunity in terms of for people for career growth, because anytime when you're in a place where you see less technical advancement, or more resistance to change, and if you're someone who have a strong technical knowledge and a strong business acumen, then you can be kind of creative to make those things happen, and that will kind of result in an accelerated career growth than if you're in a private industry where there's more competition.
Great to hear that. Another question would be, Mehnaz, related to the fact that you said you are interested in investments. So how important do you think, especially for the younger generation, to invest, to manage money management? How important is it? And investment, what importance do you think it holds in their life, and what results do you think they will see in the future? Because I'll tell you from personal experience, like my mother started investing very late. She was into like FDs and the old sort of staples that they used to do. The younger generation now is more aware of mutual funds, of all these other investments that you can do. So what is your take on it?
So I started investing since I was very young, but before that I was very much into saving. So I come from, I don't have a very I don't come from a very rich family. I come from a middle class family, and I have all of us are all together 3 siblings. I have 2 other siblings. So when I came to Canada, my father was in a very bad financial situation. I obviously love my family a lot, where I did not want to put any stress on them, because I wanted to come to Canada and they have to take care of my other 2 siblings. So I came to the country with only $3,000, and I had to find my job, find a way to make a living and everything. So I kind of always was in scarcity and survival mode. So I had no choice. I had no support system, which now looking back I feel like such a blessing. Because I'm 28 years old, and I currently own 3 properties in Canada as an immigrant, and then I have my stock investment, and I can do 9-10 vacations a year. I'm actually taking a year of unpaid leave from the government to focus on my ventures. I'm able to do all of this because I utilized my portion of my salary the right way. I research investments, not just stock investment, but okay, how do I save enough to invest in real estate? What other type of investment are there? And when I was doing all that, I found a lot of the information is already available. Like, I learned a lot of it from YouTube videos, by listening to podcasts, by talking to friends, and make the educated decisions myself. But initial phases when I was doing it, it was very challenging, because you're giving a part of yourself, you're giving small luxuries. So when my friend would go to, they would go to frequent different restaurants, they were treating each other. I wasn't able to do that. And, I would get some eye rolls, or it felt a little bit awkward, that, someday maybe one friend was treating the entire group, but I didn't have the means to treat the entire group, or go to fancy restaurant every other week. I actually had a I would download different coupons. So I even was called as a coupon girl, because I had all the coupons in the world. So I would go to restaurants and I was like, okay, I have a free appetizer, or I have 20% discount. So I kind of lived like that for few years after moving to Canada. And yes, that was very difficult, but that was the that struggle, or that mentality that doesn't matter what other people think, doesn't matter if people are literally saying that I'm cheap, doesn't matter. This is my situation. If someone has a better situation, really great for them, but for me to be in a better situation, I need to first endure, save up, and then invest the money the right way.
Absolutely. Major respect for you, Mehnaz. Strong, independent girl. Absolutely like a inspiration for all the young girls, especially. It's great to know.
Thank you so much.
Mehnaz, also recently you started your podcast, Mehnaz Talks AI. Congratulations to you firstly.
Thank you so much.
What inspired you to start this, and how do you see it being in the future, in the long run? What do you see it achieving?
So as I was saying, I'm really into community development, and education. So I've always found ways to, educate myself and, find myself in, different spaces and different opportunities. But I feel like not everyone is able to do that. And sometimes they need a little bit of help and a little bit of guidance, which is okay, because I have mentors that help me get here too. So the idea behind the podcast was, a lot of the people think that to be in the IT industry, or to be, to work in the AI industry I say, but it's all the same, IT, part of IT. You have to be a super technical person. You have to be a software developer or a coder or, programmer. But my journey is something where I realized that, I'm none of that. I'm not a programmer. I don't have any coding language knowledge, like the basics at max. But I was able to find myself a space in the IT industry as a project manager. And now I use so many different AI tools that I want to share with different folks, so that that can help them. And then in doing that research, and okay, how do I kind of share my knowledge, share what I know, so that others can benefit from it too. Then I was thinking, okay, but there are also others who wants to share their knowledge. So I was like, okay, what other way would be best than start a podcast? Because I have a LinkedIn network of, and it's all organic, 19,000 people, and I have in my contact from Microsoft to Google to the top industries like Ford, PayPal, and so on, like Meta. So I was like, okay, I have all this network. I can just reach out to my network, see who would be interested to be part of this podcast. And so far it's going great. I only launched my first episode in November. I've already recorded 8 episodes already. 6 of them are published. 2 will be published in the next couple of weeks. And then I had 4 other guests booked already. So it's going really, really great. I feel like I'm building a community. Eventually, my goal would be to start sharing more of AI content. So, before getting into this podcast, this is actually something I was working on with my husband. We were kind of researching on how do we make it easily digestible and understandable for folks, and how do we get more people learning and wanting to know about AI. So we want to focus on the AI for non-coder niche, kind of, that it's not really just for people who are technical. Even, you and I were talking about it, that the IT is a very niched. But it's not going to be niched anymore, I think, with the evolution of technology. We are going to see AI in everything right now, in all of the tools. So if people are not aware, not educated, then it's very easy to fall into the traps.
Absolutely. Even platforms themselves are bringing in AI. So, like LinkedIn has some, beta version of AI running. So, it's like taking over everything you put your hands on. So, I think your podcast is absolutely relevant and I'm sure it's going to take off. And as my last question to you would be any parting words of advice for all the IT professionals or any professionals who are, just starting their careers out? What would like be your top 3 tips to have a successful career for these young professionals?
I think the first thing would be is to have big dreams, because I feel like our society everywhere, any country, all society, they kind of created this pathways, and the masses are kind of following those pathways, which is great. If it works, why not? But I feel like sometimes you don't have to take all of that steps. When I was working early on in my career, a lot of folks were telling me, oh, you need 5 years, 10 years of experience to apply to this job. So the first thing would be apply anywhere and everywhere. Don't look at the disqualification, like apply anywhere, reach out to people. The second thing would be, I truly believe that, in the quote that your network is your net worth. So like build your network, and not in terms of like how many social media followers you have and stuff, but genuine connection. So really interact with people, find ways where you can integrate them as a part of your life. Like I have mentors that I speak with at least once a month for the last 4 years. So it's consistent. It's not like you talk to someone and you expect them to help you. You have to make someone part and be invested in your career if you want them to truly help you grow. And the third and the last thing is always be open-minded to learning. Don't put yourself in a box where that okay, I'm this and I can only do this. Learn about the word, I think everyone is a multipotentialite at the end of the day. Some people explore it fully, some people don't. So I would say explore and find your inner multipotentiality.
Great, superb. Thank you so much, Mehnaz. I'm sure all the knowledge that you gained in different roles that you had been working on, I think it's going to be absolutely incredible learning for all the viewers, and your journey in itself is truly inspiring and superb to have you on TechBeans.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me here. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you.